Well, a four-day summit is getting underway in northern Myanmar this week, aimed at bringing peace to the country. The government-backed talks will bring together 55 different armed groups. Well, let's now speak to Professor Azeem Ibrahim. He's a fellow at Oxford University, and he's also the author of The Rohingyas. He's joining us now live from Glasgow. Professor Ibrahim, thank you very much for joining us. So, have the Rohingyas been invited to this conference? Of course, our viewers will know that the Rohingyas are one of the many minority groups in Myanmar.
This is a very welcome initiative because it's intended to bring an end to almost half a century of armed conflict. And essentially, this peace initiative is designed to bring together all the armed groups. The Rohingya, despite being 5% of the population of Myanmar and being described as the most persecuted minority in the world, have not been invited simply because they have never been a violent group and they have never been an armed group. So this is, I believe, a missed opportunity to try to bring together all groups under a peace agreement. And it's just very unfortunate that this opportunity has not been taken by the government of Myanmar.
And Professor Ibrahim, and the reason they haven't been invited is only because they're not seen as a militant group. Surely that's a real problem because, as you say, they are one of the most persecuted groups in the entire world.
Absolutely, and they are not just a persecuted minority. They've been described by Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Yale University Law School as being victims of a slow-motion genocide. And, almost 800,000 Rohingya remaining only in Myanmar out of a population of 1.4 million. And out of that 800,000, 140,000 are in interned camps, in internal displacement camps. And the Rohingya are simply not even recognised as a minority group. Aung San Suu Kyi, the new leader of Myanmar, simply even refuses to use the term Rohingya. They continuously refer to them as Bengalis. So if you're not recognised, your identity is not even recognised by the state, it's very difficult for them to invite you to a peace initiative.
And why on earth are the Rohingyas so persecuted at the moment, Professor Ibrahim? Could you just try and explain that to us? Because we talk about this group a lot, and yet it's difficult to understand why they find themselves in this position.
Well, the persecution of the Rohingya goes back to the Second World War, when the Japanese invaded what was at that time British-controlled Burma. The majority Buddhist population decided to side with the Japanese invaders, believing that this would lead to swifter independence, whereas the Rohingya remained loyal to their colonial British masters. So after independence, there was a lot of scepticism about the Rohingya minority. And then the tipping point really came in 1962 with the coup of General Ne Win, who then initiated a program which he called the Burmese Road to Socialism, which was a complete economic disaster. And because of the economic disaster that he inflicted upon his people, he tried to make himself much more religious and tried to don the cloak of Theravada Buddhism. And the Rohingya have always been the minority of choice of persecution. So in subsequent laws that were passed from the 1974
Professor
Immigration
Ibrahim
Act and the 1982 Citizenship Act.
Professor Ibrahim, I'm very sorry to interrupt you, sir, but we do have to move on. But thank you very much for your time. We've run out of time. Thank you.
Great to be with you.